What's going on, guys? My name is Jerichoholic8704 here with episode 5 of ECW for you guys. This episode emanated from Minneapolis, Minnesota in the Target Center. And I mean, the show was definitely a step up from last week. The show was it wasn't really bad per se, it was just really fucking weird. So we have Paul Heyman coming out for a promo. He's escorted by some, riot police. It's just these guys in these masks, and they're dressed in all black, and they have these riot shields and shit. So he is, talking about how it's not his fault that RVD, lost the championship and then he had to suspend him for 30 days. It was the people's fault because the people burned him out and everything. And Heyman talked for 10 minutes, and I got the whole message of his promo across in about 30 seconds. You know what I mean? He literally said the same thing over and over and over and over again to the point where I'm like, dude, this is redundant. You're speaking for 5 minutes here, and you literally said nothing original except in the first 10 seconds of your promo. Eventually, he just basically declared himself the messiah of ECW and basically said, he will sacrifice himself to make sure that ECW is led to the promised land. That's the gist of his promo. So the crowd's booing him because he stabbed RVD in the back and everything. He goes to the back with his riot police and everything, and he passes by some ECW legends like Tony Mamaluke and Roadkill, who are, eyeing him. They're giving him the stink eye because they know something's up. And he eventually runs into Tommy Dreamer, who's in his street clothes and everything. He's in a red button-down shirt. And Dreamer's like, bro, what the fuck was that? And Paul Heyman's like, you know what? I will talk to you about all this, but I'll talk to you after your match. And of course, Dreamer's like, hey, what match are you talking about? And he's like, well, you have a match, and it's up next. So Tommy Dreamer comes out for his match, and he's taping his wrist as he's walking to the ring, and he's just in slacks and a button-down shirt and a black t-shirt on underneath. And Taz notes oh, well, this is Tommy Dreamer, but he's not really dressed to wrestle. But my main thing is Tommy Dreamer always wrestled in his clothes. He wore a t-shirt and some pants. I mean, granted, he probably wore wrestling boots and shit like that. I think he was just wearing penny loafers or some shit. But still, this couldn't have been too much of a change of pace for Tommy Dreamer, someone who wrestles in what he's wearing almost every time he wrestles. So Test is his opponent. Test comes out and he's all smiles and everything because Dreamer wasn't prepared for him. Tommy Dreamer starts off hot. He just he starts throwing bombs at Test, and eventually they spill out in the ring, and Test shoves him into the post. Test throws him back in the ring, and he just kind of beats on him for a bit, and then Test puts him in a bear hug, because in Extreme Championship Wrestling, you have to be put in a bear hug. And this is the first of 2 matches where the commentators noted that this is not an Extreme Rules match here on ECW. So Test puts him in a bear hug, and then Dreamer rakes his eyes to get out of it, and then he starts a comeback. So Tommy Dreamer hits one neck breaker, and then Test gets up, and in the slowest manner possible, in the most hilarious manner possible, Test is he's bobbing and weaving back and forth. He's shaking his whole body, completely out of control. Tommy Dreamer goes for another neck breaker, and Test counters him into a full Nelson Slam, but this counter was, I think I almost paused it and put it into super slow motion. That's how slow Test was moving. It was absolutely ridiculous. So after he hits that full Nelson Slam, he goes up top and tries to hit an elbow drop, but he fails. And then Tommy Dreamer goes for the Dreamer Driver, but Test rolls him up once again in super slow motion. He rolls him up into a quick roll-up, and then he throws his feet onto the ropes because Test, the 6'5" wrecking machine, has to win via shenanigans by putting his feet on the ropes for a roll-up. Test was never a win by roll-up kind of guy, but I guess on this night he was. This match sucked, it was stupid, and I was more offended by the fact that they wanted me to think Tommy Dreamer was at a hindrance, despite the fact that he was wearing what he usually wore to his matches. And besides, he ripped the button-down shirt off to reveal his ECW shirt on, which is what he always wore to the ring. So I don't know what they wanted me to think about this. So then we had a backstage segment. We had Candice Michelle and Kelly Kelly. Candice is the guest of Kelly's expose tonight, and she's doing that little thing where she's changing, getting ready for her expose segment that's coming up next, and Candice says she's going to go extreme, just as flat as possible. And what was funny about this is that it's the visual image of Candice Michelle and Kelly Kelly, and then literally the next frame is the match graphic for Ric Flair and the Big Show. So just the visual downgrade that you're looking at here. You go from Candice Michelle and Kelly Kelly to Big Show and Ric Flair. I digress. So we come back from commercial, and Ariel is reading some playing cards. She's like, oh, the future holds, the future holds, the future holds. I'm like, what the fuck does the future hold? And then all of a sudden Kevin Thorne comes out, and he's like, the future holds blood. And he just spits some blood out in the camera. It was stupid. Then we had Kelly's expose with Candice Michelle. This was stupid as usual. I mean, what more is there for me to say about Kelly's expose? You guys know how much I think this is just absolutely ridiculous. They grind on each other for a bit. They're taking each other's clothes off. They're down to basically their underwear and everything. And Mike Knox comes out and covers Kelly. Like, okay, aside from like the reasons I gave on why Kelly's expose was stupid, I mean, I broke this down in the first episode review. It's the same thing over and over and over again. She does a striptease for like 2 minutes, and then Mike Knox comes out with a towel. Like, what else is there? There's no sort of progression here. I guess at the end of the day, there was a hint of progression. Mike Knox covered the towel, covered Kelly with the towel and everything, and then Sandman came out and just caned the hell out of Mike Knox. And holy shit, did he cane the hell out of him? He smacked him right in the face, literally. Like, forehead and the cane were just best friends in this little segment. And he eventually leads Mike Knox up to the stage where Kelly and Candice were doing their striptease. And he whacks him in the head one more time, and he just takes a tumble right out on the floor. So that was just bad news for Mike Knox. Just a horrible day to be him. So then we come back from commercial break, and CM Punk is doing another inset promo. It's wasn't as good as last week. Some of the stuff that you can tell was heavily scripted, like when he said, "These tattoos aren't decoration, they're a declaration." I was like, oh my God, dude. Granted, CM Punk would go off script a little bit more, and he would have a little bit more creative control. But as of right now, you could tell they were just giving him things to say, and it really wasn't working out for him. So then we had Sabu versus Justin Credible. The second match on the show where Justin Credible goes to pick up a weapon, and Joey Styles has to say, here at Extreme Championship Wrestling, this is not an Extreme Rules match. Now, I understand you don't want to oversaturate your product with Extreme Rules matches, but then again, it feels weird, especially when you have ECW originals competing in a normal match. It seems weird, because Justin Credible and Sabu, those aren't just two new guys that they picked up for this, ECW roster. Those were ECW originals. So, it just didn't make any sense to me. So Justin Credible, he sets up a table on the outside of the ring, and then Sabu hits a high cross on him, and then he leans Justin Credible right along the table, and then hits a leg drop through the table for the DQ. This was a nothing match. I mean, it was literally just 2 minutes. It was basically a segment. It wasn't even a match. So then we had a Balls Mahoney promo. Balls basically says, yeah, I know my name's dumb, but it represents who I am as a person. I go balls to the wall. That's basically what he said. So then we had a Ric Flair inset promo, and lo and behold, the best thing on the show was a Ric Flair promo, like by leaps and bounds. So Flair basically says that he is going to get his 17th title win, but first he says Foley is a whiner and he wants him to be a man. Flair then says Big Show has all the tools to succeed in wrestling, and he has something he wants, the ECW Championship. So before we had our main event of Big Show versus Ric Flair, they show a picture of Shannon Moore backstage, and he's all inked up, and he's got, the guy liner on and the mohawk, and he's looking like a goof, and it says Shannon Moore will be coming soon. So there you go. So then we had our main event, Big Show versus Ric Flair. I don't really even know how to describe this match. This wasn't a good match. This wasn't a bad match. It was the match. No, I'm kidding. This match was just really, really fucking weird. So here in this Extreme Rules match, the first thing the referee does is he searches Big Show and Flair for weapons. I guess if you're going to go into an Extreme Rules match, you have to at least go in even. But other than that, I don't know what the point of that was. It's an Extreme Rules match. Why do they care if they have weapons on them? Weapons are legal. So anyway, this match lasted for 30 seconds before going to commercial break. So when it comes back, Ric Flair he's trying to mount some sort of offense on Big Show, but Big Show's just not having any of it. He's hitting Flair with some slams, he's hitting him with some chops, and then Flair does a little Flair flop and everything. Big Show headbutted Ric Flair, and this is what caused Ric Flair to bleed. But my thing is, it's like, in this Extreme Rules match, the thing that's going to make Ric Flair, bleed and have him just his face covered in blood is a headbutt. Now, I'm sure Ric Flair did not want to take any chair shots to the head at he was like 57 years old. But still, and side note, in the little match graphic thing, they showed a picture of the image they used for Ric Flair was definitely from like 2001 or 2002. And my God, did it show. This dude aged within that 4 years. I mean, around 2001, 2002, he still looked, he looked older, sure, but he still looked pretty good for his age. But he's like, 57, 58 around 2006, and it was really showing. He was looking really, really old. So you think smoke and mirrors would be the thing you would need for a match featuring Big Show and Ric Flair in 2006. But instead, Big Show just beats him up some more and throws him back into the ring. He hits him with like a suplex or something, and then Flair flips him off, which I thought was just the perfect example. Like that was the perfect image to exemplify everything this match represented. So Show goes to beat his ass some more, but then Ric Flair gives him a low blow, and then as, Big Show's there, frozen in time, holding his ball sack, Flair just, gives him another uppercut to the balls, and, right now, Big Show is just, his grapefruits are just, they're the size of Jupiter, and Ric Flair just punts him again in the balls, so this is the third straight low blow, and Big Show is nursing his balls in the corner of the ring, and then Flair just lines him up, and as if he's kicking, as if it's kickoff, he runs from post to post and just kicks Big Show right in the gonads. Had to have sucked, but I'm sure Ric Flair held up just a little bit. So Big Show is just completely immobilized because he just has taken just a brutal beating to the testicles. And Flair goes outside the ring and he grabs the trash can, which also has just a plethora of weapons inside of it. He throws it in the ring and then he grabs out Barbie because he's calling out Mick Foley. Flair then, hits Big Show in the face with Barbie, which causes Big Show to bleed, and then he hits him a couple times with the trash can, and then he hits him with the chair. Flair goes for a cover, but Big Show powers out, and then Flair grabs a burlap sack and dumps a bunch of thumbtacks onto the ground. Flair then smacks Big Show in the face 3 times with a steel chair. Now, granted, these weren't super hard chair shots, but there were still 3 unprotected chair shots to the head. Big Show stumbles, he sways, he's bobbing and weaving, and then all of a sudden he falls back and lands just back first onto these thumbtacks. But the thing that sucked is because Big Show is just so massive and he takes up so much space. It wasn't like the thumbtacks were in one centralized corner. They were all around the ring. And Big Show's back to the brunt of it, but some of the thumbtacks got lodged in his ass, and I was like, dude, that has gotta suck. Because I'm thinking, like, what if, freak accidents, but, like, what if a thumbtack, like, just pierced you in the balls? Like, that's gotta suck. You know what I mean? Like, dude, like, it's like an extreme Prince Albert. You know what I mean? Like, I thought those were bad, but, like, you just took a thumbtack and just shoved it up your ball sack. Like, that's just gotta be just the pits. So Big Show, like, realizes, like, I just shoved thumbtacks up my ass. I'm pretty pissed off, and I would be too. So Big Show sells this in his face, and then he goes right after Ric Flair, hits him with a chokeslam, and of course Flair lands on some thumbtacks, and then he hits that little Cobra Clutch backbreaker into the Cobra Clutch submission. Flair eventually passes out, and then Big Show's declared the winner. And then he throws Ric Flair, and Ric Flair lands, like, penis first onto these thumbtacks. Now, okay, it wasn't, like, dick first, but, like, he landed on, like, his thigh and then fell, like, flat on his stomach. And I'm like, that has got to fucking suck, too. Because, as far as I can tell, these thumbtacks weren't gimmicked. I don't think they ever were. Because when they went into Big Show, there was blood. Like, they were puncturing. They were inside Big Show. It wasn't like these were, like, plastic thumbtacks. They were just a little sharp around the edge. As far as I'm concerned, they were real thumbtacks. So, that has got to suck. I'm sure Flair was kind of hovering over him because that's all I could think about. Like, I'm not saying all I think about are men's penises, but, like, that's all I could think about here was like how, like, I really hope that you don't get punctured. You know what I mean? Like, that was what was going through my head. And I was concerned for these men. The point is, I was just so afraid that we were going to have a piercing where we didn't want to be pierced. So that was my main concern with this match. But other than that, this match was just the fucking weirdest match I've ever seen in my life. Flair, of course, is absolutely nuts, so he'll do anything to have a great match. So after Big Show leaves, referees cater to Ric Flair and they cart him out of the ring. And the crowd's cheering and everything. And that was the end of ECW. So, a better step up from last week. But still, this was just one of the weirdest shows I've ever seen in my entire life. And I just find so many weird things to nitpick here. But, it's all I can do. So anyway, that's it for me. My name is JerichoHolic8704. And I will see all of you guys later.